Do a quick video of some of the bikes that I've been collecting over the past 20 years, basically. So I'm a bit of an hoarder in the classic cars and bikes and whatever else. Anything old vintage, I like. Also one or two new motorbikes I've adventured with, a bit of an electric one. But I'll just give you an update and show you what we've got, basically. So here we've got, this is a Captain James, I believe. I think it's about a 200cc two-stroke. Quite good condition actually, that. It's a runner. We don't use it on road, but we up and down shows and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a Captain James. Then we move on to the MZ. Quite ruggish, 150 I think this is. This is a runner as well. Last time we had it fired up. So that's the MZ 150 two-stroke again. Here we've got I call it a classic one. It's Suzuki TS50. Now, these were like everybody's sort of dream when you were 16-year-old, because they were classed as a moped. You had the off-road sort of look, and they could be messed about with quite easy. So I think this has got a 70 kit on it, I believe. And it's got like a reed valve on it, so this will do. I think I had it about 48 mile an hour. So yeah, that's a good little bike, that. Not been used for a while, but we have had it started up, and running in garden. So we'll move on to the 2023, I think it is, or is it 2022? This is the Super Soco. This is fully electric, twin battery model, which, to be fair, if anybody's ever buying an electric bike, I recommend that you do buy a twin battery model. Because when I first went out on this, I was looking at the percentage as it was going down, and then I thought, right, when we get on to 50%, we'll start heading back, etc., etc. But due to the fact that you've got different sort of terrains, the battery can go down quite fast once you get, to a certain level. So, yeah, it's always best. It is a good little thing. I do like re-engine vehicles, but I got this back at camper van. So when we go camping, we haven't got the petrol spilling about. Now, they recommend it'll do about 40 mile on one charge per battery. But realistically, if you've got sort of 3 modes on it. So if you run this on number 1, it's what you call a bicycle mode. You can get a range on one battery up to about 50 mile, I'd say. On number 2, it does a speed of up to 22 mile an hour. So if you're in places like London, Birmingham, where it's 20 mile an hour limits, then you're alright. And you can achieve the mileage of 35 or 40. If you put it on the number 3 model, it'll do about 29 mile an hour. Then it will probably do, realistically, I would probably say about 20 miles. I've done 500 mile on this bike in the few years I've had it. I've had it from brand new. So when I got it, it was 0 miles on it. So yeah, every little mark on this bike, if there is any, I'm responsible for. So right, we'll move on now. This is the Francis Barnett. I think this is a Falcon. This has got the Villiers engines in, because I believe these, obviously this is a two-stroke again, they did these in their own sort of engine. It might actually be, I'm sure it's a Villiers looking at that case, but anyway, they did 2 different engines in it, and yeah, this is a beautiful runner, absolute beautiful. I bought it off a gentleman, and he's done a lot of work to it. So that there, like I said, Francis Barnett, I think it's around 200cc. Brilliant little runner. Then we move on to the AJS. Now, they call this a lightweight, but look at the size of it. It's heavy. So obviously, when they say it's a lightweight, there must be something a lot more heavier than this. I've used this on roads for about 6 months. Had a few teething problems with it, But overall, it's a good little runner. Sounds very loud. You can hear me coming for miles with this one. But yeah, I mean, nice bike again. Then we move on to the Honda CG125. Now the CG125, very reliable. This is what you call a Japanese model. The gears are all down on this model. So yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to when you're used to like the sort of one down rest up. But overall, I mean, it's in kilometres. Like I say, it's a Japanese model, imported. It's not a bad little runner. It hasn't been used for a while, to be fair, so that's just been parked up. But yeah, overall, good commuting bike. I'm happy with it. Then we move on to the Peugeot. Now, I think this is a 1930s Peugeot. Now, believe it or not, it's a 98cc pedal and pop, and this runs like a dream. Honestly, it runs like a dream. I've got new tyres for it, but I've sort of left these on for now, so I don't really drive it that often. But last time we was on it, the clutch is slipping. So we're going to have to redo the clutch on this one. But overall, it gets a lot of attention, and it's a lovely, you know, pre-war sort of bike. Right, we move on to the Valicette here. So this Valicette is an ex-police bike. This is a Mark III. So I'm not 100%, like I say, so sometimes I could get things wrong. But this is definitely a Mark III. And that's because it's got the kickstart and the gear lever. So this is a Mark III. I think it's a 4-speed gearbox. I have ridden it, but I haven't really ridden it on a road, just test driving it round the showground. So it is a bit rough and ready, I'm not going to lie. It's been brush painted. But yeah, overall, quite a nice bike. These are, like I said, the police used to like these because they were basically really quiet compared to, like you said, the AJSs. You know, these were sort of quiet, so even though they didn't have the speed, they was quite reliable because they've got, like I said, they're a flat, you know, 2-cylinder engine, air cooled as well, 4-stroke. So they were quite built to, you know, to sort of be reliable. Then we move on to a Mark II. Now this is a Mark II, 200cc again. This is the hand change gear lever and the hand pull start. Now I've ridden this bike, I've only done about 100 mile on it. It's been a good little bike, to be fair. Yeah, overall, I mean, this one, like I said, we had my young lad on back. That's why we've got a bit of a cushion sort of seat on there. There's different sort of seats for these bikes. But I quite like the unique of it, you know. I mean, you've got your glove box in here. So this is where you put like your gloves and stuff like that, bits and bobs, spark plugs. Then you've got, like you said, a little bit of a leg shield. So I think they designed these to be like sort of a bit more comfortable, so you didn't wear your shoes out and stuff like that. You know, they had everything sort of, some of these models, but obviously this one hasn't. It's got a foot brake, but they have like a bit of a guard there to stop you scuffing your boots sort of thing. But this one ain't got it on, but some of the others have. Then we move on again to the Mark III, another Mark III. Very good condition, this, to be fair. It has been resprayed, but it's not a bad job, you know. Panniers on it again, metal boxes, and it's in lovely nick. So I picked this one up, like I said, it's lovely. This one at the minute, I think this has got a valve dropped on it. So we're losing compression on one cylinder, but I've not had time to investigate. So that'll be my next job when I get a chance. This one here, we've got another Valicette. This is a Mark II, I believe. Now the difference is with Mark I, they're a smaller engine. I think a Mark I is a 150, and there might be a couple of little bits slightly different. This is a bit rough and ready, to be fair, but I've had it a while. It is a runner. This one does run, but I think it's got a slight water leak on it. I think there's a pipe on cylinder head, and it's just got a slight leak on it on the metal part, on the sleeve bit. So that'll need taking out and pushing one in. once again, we've got another Valicet. This one is a Mark II. This came from a gentleman. He's had it nearly 50 years. It has been brush painted now, which, you know, yeah, it sort of spoilt it, but it adds to character. So this gentleman who I got this offer, he's had it for 50 years. He bought it about 16-month old, something like that. It wasn't that old when he got it. So obviously the guy who I got it off knows everything about the bike really. This is like I said, this is like the twin seat model. So it just meant basically you can have that extra passenger. Same again with dials. You've got your amp meter there, you've got your speedo. Now this is registering at 35,000. And like I said, there were quite wide intervals when you were getting it serviced. You know, they were quite, you know, let's say every 20,000, where most motorbikes every couple of thousand. So, yeah, quite good. 200cc again. And we've got another Mark II there. This is another 200cc Valicet again. Yeah, overall, it is a little bit, you know, it's not mint, but it's a runner. It runs. That's all right as well. Then we've got the old, I'd say probably famous BSA Bantam 175 2-stroke, where these were 4-stroke. So when these came out, these were very popular, because I think these were around the £75 mark, the BSA Bantam, which, you know, it was cheap, but it was dear at the time. But when you put it aside of the Valicet, these were £126. So when they look at the Valicet, it wasn't sort of a motorbike, it wasn't sort of a moped. So they didn't really get that sort of following from the general public. But like I said, the police force loved the Valicets, and that's what made them so popular, and they sold that many. So back on to BSA Bantam, it is a runner. The baffles are missing. It's had a new seat on it. The paint job's not bad. And it's a runner, you know, 2-stroke. Another Valicet again. Yeah, I've got a lot of Valicets. But yeah, overall, that's my small collection what I've got here. I have got a lot more bikes than this, but this is just overall, you know, like I say, it's been 20, 25 years of saving up. And there we are, my little collection. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you very much.